Yes, Dorothy in French, Dorothée. So I was born in France and traveled a little bit all around the world to arrive in Australia about 10 years ago now. When I was 21, as I was doing my engineering school in France, I had the opportunity to choose a country and finish my engineering studies there. So I chose the US and went to live in the US for a few years, and then my spirit of adventure came back and I wanted to travel again, so I went to do some more study. I did an MBA in Singapore and France. After that, I was hired in a medical device company in Brussels, where I met my husband, and it was coming from the US, so my husband is American. And from there we had the opportunity to move to Australia 10 years ago, and we did, and we enjoyed every minute of it. We were a long time in Sydney, about 8 years, and then 2 years ago we made the move to actually choose Brisbane as our home and create a life that we really enjoy. The main thing I like about Brisbane is the fact that it's such a green city. There is a beautiful river that leads to a great city with lots of things to do, and it's very enjoyable. Fearlessly Yourself come really from my own journey and spiritual and personal development journey that started a long time ago, but I could probably point out that time in my life 15 years ago where I had this event where my mother passed away, it was a difficult time of my life, and it was at a moment where I was in my early 20s, and I was not feeling good about my life, which externally seemed like a really good life. I was living in Florida at the time, I was working as an engineer, I had in a relationship. So there was not really an external reason for my internal struggles, but I was quite anxious and depressed at the time. And when my mother passed away, it was really me questioning my life and my choices and my relationships, and really asking myself, where am I going to put every breath of my life, since life is short? So I really started to ask myself those questions. I started yoga at the time, which was a big jump in my spiritual and personal development. And it really helped me throughout those challenging times for me, and to really reconnect to my body, to calm my mind, and to really come to a place of peace. Then I went to try to understand why my mother passed away from cancer, and I started to study the effect of food on health. So I started to change my food, and I saw the impact between the exercise I was doing and between the food. I was starting to really come to a place that was a lot better than I was. But yet there was something that was still missing. So a few years ago, as I was also journeying to another challenge of having my second kid, I started to discover the power of the mind and the mindset. So I went on a holistic program where we were looking at nutrition. I was doing all sorts of natural therapy, exercise, and I started meditation. And I saw the power of the mindset and the mind. So I was intrigued, and I started my neuro-linguistic programming journey. So I went on to do the practitioner level and followed the master level in neuro-linguistic programming. And that's when I realized that it's all connected, and you have to work on everything, on the body, on the mind, to be able to see the joy and the beauty of life. So at that point, then I started to want to share. I started to share my tips and tricks, and I started to share yoga. At the time, I was becoming a yoga teacher, so I started to share that part of the journey. And then eventually, because it was not just yoga, it was everything else, the yoga, the nutrition, and the mindset. That's how I really saw the needs around me for women and men, but especially women, that were longing for a life that was meaningful and wholesome and joyful, but yet couldn't really get there. And that's how I started Fearlessly Yourself. So the reason why it works there's a few of them, but I'll bring up three of them. So the first one, I would say, it's because it's a holistic program. So there's this connection with the mind and body that you can't forget. You cannot work on the other, one or the other. You have to work on both of them. And then the second one is because the program is built throughout a progression. So you cannot go straight to that meaningful, beautiful life. There is things and work to be done before. So a lot of letting go, a lot of awareness. So it's a progression. And that's why also it works, because it's built as a progression. And then the third one is because they're guided. So it makes it a lot easier than doing it yourself, reading books. So you're guided, and the coaching sessions are so powerful. You know, without them, the program would not be the same for sure. So you get that one-on-one coaching session, and then we can really customize the process. We can customize the program just for that person, knowing what are their patterns, what are their limiting belief, and how we want to get to that ultimate place of a meaningful life. So the program goes through a progression. Again, the goal will depend on each individual person. So it could be, you know, that for one person they want financial abundance. For one person it's about the quality of bringing love into their life. For one person it could be a relationship is not going really well. For one it could be the fact that their nutrition is not optimal, so they feel lack of vitality. So whatever the goal is, we go through that progression to get to each individual goals. But there is kind of a structure, and the structure is such. First, we need to bring awareness to discover yourself, to see those patterns, to really look at how you've been programmed. What are your limiting beliefs? How is it not serving you anymore? And for those that are not serving you, let go. So we go into that discover phase, and then the let go phase where we really let go of the things that don't serve you, the limiting belief, I'm not good enough, I'm not successful enough, where they come from, and we reprogram so that we really come into a state where we can go to the next stage and open to love for yourself, love for others, love for your feminine side, and love for your masculine side, integrating those. So we start to really look at the feminine side of women, which we have been repressing, because it's not a side that have been really much valued by today's society. So in that stage, we bring up and balance the masculine and the feminine. And then the last stage, because now we've let go, now we open our heart, now we're integrated, now we can start to create the life we want. And that's the last stage, creating that meaning in the life, whatever it means for each individual. So NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and it's an approach that looks at the human mind and human development, and really look at those patterns and programs that we create throughout our childhood, and look at those that do not serve us anymore as adults, and reprogram and reframe and let go of the emotional charge that those programs have on us, that make us do over and over the same thing every day, and the same triggers the same reaction, and so on. So we look at that, and with some neuro-linguistic and mindfulness technique during our one-on-one coaching session, really take the time to bring awareness, release, let go, so that we can move on to a more resilient mindset, a better mind-body connection. I would be a big, beautiful white tiger. I often imagine I can actually feel sometimes being that tiger. I just love the fact that they are strong but graceful, and how they walk through life. So it's about that. And when I was little, my dad was calling me little tiger, because I really felt like one, adventurous and lively. And I lost part of this for a while, for many, many years. And now, you know, a few years ago, I'm really feeling that the tiger is back, you know, and it's about bringing that tiger back. I do express my artistic side and my creativity by singing and writing songs and playing the guitar and the piano. And yeah, I find so much joy in creating. And because the hard part for me was to play in front of people a few years ago. But now I'm in that space where I can really, and I want, and it brings me a lot of joy to share. So now I do it around friends, at parties, and I'm starting to also share it with other musicians and play together. So it brings me a lot of love and energy.
Oh, I know, should have known better. You were no good. I was no greater. Had a gun and off my mind. There's no love here. There was no love here. There was no love here. There was no love here to be found.
I'd like to see more fearless women out there, empowering themselves and others, and bringing joy and fulfillment to the world around them.